Okay, Be'ezrat Hashem, Naaseh v'Natzliach. I'd like to welcome you to Ironside Minyan for our weekly Lunch and Learn. I want to give an honorable mention to our gracious host, our good friend Ofer Mizrahi, that not only does he give us the use of the space on a weekly basis already now for the second year, but also oftentimes sponsors the entire Lunch and Learn. Hashem varech oto v'sameach oto. Be'ezrat Hashem give him a lot of hatzlacha and success in all his endeavors. B'ruchaniut v'b'gashmiut, may his businesses go higher and higher in success. The properties should go up in value. Be'ezrat Hashem, his ruchaniut as well should go up and up. And the same way that he's ish chesed and he spreads his goodness amongst his friends, his people, and strangers, Be'ezrat Hashem, that Hashem do a great chesed with him. God bless you all. Also, I want to give an honorable mention to our good friend Judah, who spearheaded this whole Lunch and Learn. Baruch Hashem, sticking to it, and we're still going to always have to have hakarat hatov for what we're doing here. It's not a small thing that we come here every single week and we learn above and beyond the people that are here with us. You know, in the Facebook world and on YouTube, a lot of people are watching and listening. And on Shabbat, they mention Divrei Torah that they hear over here. We're doing a great thing. Sometimes this class is heard by hundreds, sometimes even thousands of people. Baruch Hashem. So it's not a small thing of what we're doing here. And Be'ezrat Hashem, anybody who's there that would like to join us, we're here every week. Be'ezrat Hashem, Naaseh v'Natzliach b'chol ma'aseh yadenu. I'd like to tell you a story. Parashat Korach. This week's parasha is a very, very unique parasha. It's a parasha that can be told better than any Hollywood movie. It's a story of lies, deceit, conflict, humility, earthquakes, deaths, shalom bayit issues, and reincarnations. You couldn't write a better script even if you wanted to. I'll give you a quick overview of the entire story, and then we'll begin to dig deeper and deeper into the storyline. And where we end up is a true gem, is a true marvel of our Torah, of our sages, and to show us how deep and how sweet the Torah is. If you just look a little bit more, if you just study a little bit more, if you just look into it more, there's so much more beneath the surface. So let's begin. Here we are, the Jewish people are in the desert. Am Yisrael is now in the process of being formed into a society, formed into a nation. And as of Parashat Beha'alotecha, right around Aliyah Shishit, where we have over there the two upside down nunim, the rabbis tell us that is the breaking point where the Jews were at an uphill, at an apex. They were actually in a climax, and from then on became the downfall of their experience in the desert. And it began with the people that were complaining, the mitonenim. Then we had over there last week's parasha Last week's parasha we had before Korach. What did we have? We have the complainers, and we had the ones that were mitavim for the meat, for the food. Last week's parasha was the meraglim, and the ones that spoke Lashon Hara about Eretz Yisrael. And here we are, this week's parasha, Korach, another story that we could have done without in the desert. And what is the story about? Well, Korach, his family. He is part of the Levi family. Him and Moshe and Aharon are cousins. Korach is the son of Yitzhar, who's the son of Kehat, who's the son of Levi. And Kehat and Amram were brothers. So these are their offsprings. Moshe and Aharon came from Amram, and Korach came from Yitzhar. So here they are now in the desert, and Moshe Rabbeinu is the king. He is the leader of the Jewish people. His brother took the Kehuna, Kohen Gadol, the chief rabbi. His sister Miriam is the Neviah. As they started to divvy up all the responsibilities, another cousin by the name of Eliphaz ben... What was his name? Eliphaz... I'll bring it up later. Basically, there was another cousin named Eliphaz, who was basically the son of the fourth brother. Meaning, it seems like Moshe took all the positions for himself, skipped over Korach, gave the position to another cousin, and Korach is all out there on his own. And he's feeling left out. Now Korach, you should know, was a very holy man. The Zohar brings, he had the status of a Navi. He was on a very, very high level, very, very close to Moshe and Aharon, not too far behind. He was also super wealthy, incredibly wealthy. They said that in the desert he had 300 donkeys that just held the keys to the treasure chests of all the money that he had. Could you even imagine how much wealth that is? And he comes and he has a claim against Moshe Rabbeinu. He says, he grabs 250 very important people, Nesieh Edam, these are princes, Korei Moed, super intelligent, they were able to decipher the months through the moon. Anshe Shem, people with a name, all over the planet people would know them by name. You would just say the name, they would be known. In other words, they were famous. Another interpretation that they say on Shem, they knew the Shem HaMeforash, God's secret name that only a select few in the world know. They knew it. So these are important people. These are not like 250 regular people that he convinced to come. These are very intelligent, very holy, very prominent, very famous, very high-level individuals that have many people under them. This is Anshe Edah. In other words, they have Edah under them. They have a community beneath them. They're the heads of communities. And he was able to sway them to his opinion, alongside with Eldad Medad and On Ben Peled. A couple of guys, 3 guys from the Shevet of Reuven. What's their connection? Why would the tribe of Reuven have any want or need to get connected to Korach's machloket over here with Moshe Rabbeinu? So the Rashi says, Oy la Rasha, oy la Shecheno. He says, be careful who your neighbor is. If you have a bad neighbor, he's going to get you in trouble. If you have a good neighbor, Baruch Hashem, you're going to get benefit, you're going to yield good rewards out of it. So why did Reuven have a claim? He says, you know what? Korach, you have a claim because they got skipped over you. You know what? Me too. You know why? Reuven was the Bechor. The Bechor always gets the most. He gets double of the Yerusha. He gets double of the inheritance. He always gets the prominent position. He always gets the highest reward. And Reuven lost all that. If you remember in Sefer Bereshit, when he switched the beds of his father in the time when Rachel passed away, he lost the Bechorah, also with the story of Yosef over there. And we have over there, Reuven, the Bechorah went to Yehudah. And not only that, the Bechorim at one time were supposed to have the job of the Mishkan. So right now we see that the Leviah, the Reuven says, you know what, us too, we also have a claim. We also want to say that we got skipped over. We also want to press reset on what was decided. And this is their language. So they gang up on Moshe Rabbeinu, Vayikahalu. And later on I'll explain to you what it means, Vayikahalu, that they gathered on Moshe Rabbeinu. We'll go into depth. It says, Vayikahalu al Moshe va'al Aaron, Vayomru alehem. And they told him, Rav lachem, כי כל העדה כולם קדושים, ובתוך אדוני, ומדוע תתנסו על קהל אדוני. It says, Moshe and Aaron, with all due respect, Rav lachem, you guys took all the Rav positions, all the rabbi positions you took for you. It's too much that you took up for yourself. כי כל העדה כולם קדושים. We're all holy. You're not the only one that's holy, because if we weren't holy, God wouldn't be living amongst us. God is residing with all of us. That means we're all holy. You're not unique. You're not special. You're not holier than me. And what are you elevating yourself above everyone else? Moshe's instant reaction was he fell on his face and began to pray. And he tells Korach and Adato, he says, Boker veyoda Hashem tasherlo v'takadosh ve'kriv elav. He says, you know what? Let's sleep on it. Wake up in the morning. We'll be in a fresh state of mind. And let's see who Hashem chooses. And he tells them, you know what? If you guys think that you're so holy and you're so worthy, not a problem. The highest level korban that you can bring in the Mishkan is the Ketoret. That's the top of the top. He says tomorrow morning, all of you come with a machta, like a pan, and put on it the incense offering. And my brother Aharon will also bring the incense offering. And let's see who God chooses. If it's Aharon, then you were wrong. If it's any one of you, then we were wrong. They agreed to it. Now you have to stop right here and think. If there's 1% chance that you're going to die, would you take a chance? If I were to tell you that right now there's a chance that Coca-Cola put poison inside their bottles. We don't know. There's a small percentage of bottles that have Clorox in it. And anyone who's going to drink it is going to die. Would you take that chance drinking Coke? You would stay away from it completely. Why? There's a chance you might die, right? Here we are, 250 people, standing right there. None of them believes that they're going to die. None of them holds that maybe there's a chance I'm going to die. They're going to say, yes, I'm going tomorrow. Look to the left, he's not going to make it. Look to the right, he's not going to make it. I'm going to make it. And they're all thinking that way. Oh my God. Imagine, what type of certainty do you have to have in yourself? That means they really believed that they were right. They really believed that they were right. To go all out, to go all in. Later on, they go ahead, they do that. They fail. A fire comes from the sky, burns them. The earth opens up its mouth and swallows Korach, Va'adato, and everything that belongs to him. Everything that belonged to those individuals got swallowed up. Their family, their children, babies, infants, newborns, all their belongings. They said if they had a belonging somewhere on the other side of the earth, it would roll over into that hole. If they had signed on a piece of paper their name, it would lift up off the paper and disappear. They got completely wiped off the planet. That's the story. That's the pshat. However, there's more to it. Korach, what drives a super intelligent, super holy, super rich man to do a conflict with the holiest man in the world, Moshe Rabbeinu? What would it take to push you? You're comfortable, you have everything. You have a good relationship with God. You have all the money in the world. You're very well liked. You're very intelligent. This is a guy who's living a fulfilled life. His life is full. What are you missing, Korach? What would bring you to challenge Moshe Rabbeinu? The rabbis tell us one thing. One thing drove Korach. And that one thing was kin'ah. Jealousy. Jealousy is what provoked Korach for this entire story, this entire parasha. Now, how could he begin to think that there is a jealousy? What would make him think that? So remember, we said he's a Navi. He's a prophet. He can see things. So what did he see that gave him the certainty to go against Moshe Rabbeinu? So the rabbis tell us that when he came home, in the previous parashiyot, Aharon, the Leviim tribe, went through an initiation process. What was their initiation? They had to shave all the hairs from their body, including their beard, their eyebrows, their hair. They were bald, nothing, not a piece of hair on them. And Aharon HaKohen picked him up. He picked them all up. Imagine thousands and thousands of big men. Aharon picked them up. He was a strong guy. Picked them up and moved them. That was part of the process of initiation. So Korach, being a Levi, comes home. Korach's wife was Lo Aleinu Velo Alechem, Korach's wife. And there's nothing worse than for a guy that comes to a home where the wife puts him down. And Korach was in that house. He comes home, and what does his wife tell him? She starts to laugh at him. Look at you. Look at you. You're a joke. You're a clown. What is this? She puts him next to the mirror. Look at yourself. He looks at himself like, wow, man, I look weird right now. You ever see a human being without eyebrows? It's weird. It's like it doesn't look normal, let alone completely shaved. She says, no, wow, it's a mitzvah. Moshe and Aharon told us in order to get initiated to the Levi and all the responsibilities that come along with it, we have to go through this process. He's joking at you, he's playing at you. Moshe Rabbeinu, he didn't have to do it. He didn't shave his head, he didn't shave his beard. He's making fun of you. Not only that, you don't have a position. He's the president. He's the king. His brother is the head Kohen. Your cousin is a different position. What are you? You're nothing. In Hebrew, we call it mechamemet oto. She started to get him going, to bubble up. Later on, he starts to see. He starts to have nevuah, and he sees that in the near-off future, his offspring is going to be for kingdom. He sees that from his zera, from his lineage, there's going to be a king. Which king came from Korach? Shaul HaMelech. Shaul HaMelech. He sees that his progeny, that his DNA continues to be kings of Israel. So he says, if I have kings of Israel in the future, surely I'm right. Surely I'm the one whose opinion is of the right. I'm challenging him. Between his wife and his prophecy, he felt like he had the right. So in order to do this, he goes and he gathers all the people. And it says over him, Vayakel. It says, what's the right word that they use? Vayikahalu al Moshe v'al Aharon. So now, as an intelligent man, a rich man, a holy man, who wants to push his agenda, wants to push his propaganda, what tool is he going to use? What is he going to use to convince people? Well, this is something you can learn. If you're a man in power, and you want to have other people that are in power follow you, Korach gives you the formula. He sits them down, he gives them food, he gives them wine. Hence is why Moshe told them, come back tomorrow, we'll figure things out. He saw that they were drunk. He says, sleep it off. Moshe Rabbeinu was a good leader. He says, sleep it off, come back. We'll deal with it at a different time when calmer heads prevail. So he gets all these 250 plus from the Shevet from Rosh Edah and a few people from Shevet Reuven, and he sits them down. And how do you convince people? You get them to like you. How do you get people to like you? You make them laugh. You make them laugh. Nowadays, you can actually see that in politics. You see Bibi Netanyahu's commercial for Israel when he wanted to become president. What was his commercial? He wasn't standing there, we're going to get the Arabs, oh, the economy is going to go up. No, he did a commercial, I'll babysit your kids. Al tafachdu, Bibi shomer al eladim. It was a good tagline. You see, he says, Bibi's watching over your kids as a joke. But he makes you feel that Bibi's watching over the kids as the president. He used comedy. How about Trump? How much charisma does he have? Is it because what is coming out of his mouth is completely intelligent? At times, no. But he's likable. He has a certain persona and a certain charisma and a certain humor that gets certain people to like him. A lot of people that voted for Trump, not so much for his viewpoints, but for what? I like his character. I like his style. I like the way he talks. What's the content? I don't care. I just like the way he is. Originally, that's Korach. And listen to this. This is a very interesting story that is not brought down in the Chumash, but Me'am Loez gives us, and he says he gathers all of them and he paints them a picture. And you should know that sometimes, even when something is not true, even if you just say it, even if you just imagine it, even if you just pass it on, eventually what happens? Somebody believes it. And that's what happens here. Listen to this story. He says, this is now, imagine Korach sitting in front of all these people and he's campaigning to push his agenda. What does he say? Shim'u v'asaper lachem ma'aseh she'era le'almana aluva. He says, let me tell you of a story that happened to a miserable widow. He says it's in Hebrew, so what I'll do is I'll read it in Hebrew and I'll translate it in English. He says, there is a miserable widow who had 2 daughters, and her husband passed away. And the only thing that she had was a small little field that her husband left her. And her 2 daughters were basically living off that field. And as she was working that field, as soon as she started to prepare the field, and the way you prepare the field is you have to plow the ground, you have to turn the ground over in order for the nutrients to come out. As soon as she comes in, Moshe Rabbeinu comes to her and tells her, Hizari, shelo tacheshi b'shor v'chamo yachdav. Tells her, listen, be careful. You can't have an ox and a donkey work together to work the field. Oh, okay, I have to stop working. He says that's the way. That's the basically right now he's giving them all the things that the Torah prohibits or commands. When she came to put the seeds in the ground, he goes to her, be careful not to put 2 types of seeds together. Kilaim, we're not allowed to put 2 species of grains together. After she comes to harvest her field, Moshe comes over to her, be careful that you don't pick up whatever you drop and that you leave a corner of leket, shicha, and pe'ah. These are things that when you're gathering and something falls, you can't pick it up. You have to leave it. The corners of the field, the pe'ot, the people have it over here, the pe'ah that people have nowadays, a lot of it has to do with this halakha of pe'at sadeh, that you put it in the corner, and that is for the poor people. He says, be careful not to leave that behind. And when she finally was able to gather all the field, what was he telling Moshe? Oh, don't forget, you have to give truma, you have to give maaser rishon, maaser sheni, you have to tithe the first time, you have to tithe it the second time. So this miserable widow with 2 women with a small field, every time she makes a move, Moshe is right there to take a bite, take a bite, take a bite, take a bite from what she wants. This is the picture that Korach is painting. He continues with the story. He's very, very charismatic. He says, and after the widow saw that she cannot continue this way, she sold it. And she says, you know what, I can't deal with it. This is too hard for me. I'm going to take the money of this field and I'm going to buy myself 2 goats. And I'll live off those 2 goats. They'll make babies, they'll give me milk. I'll live off of that, I'll be happy. So, as soon as she got those 2 goats and she comes to trim the wool, we know that there's a halacha that reshit, it says, Kol ha-bechor sheivalev v'chav utzonecha. No, I'm sorry. He says, they first had babies. And what's the first thing that they have when they have a baby? Kol ha-bechor asher valed Tagdish Hashem Elokecha. In other words, there's a rule. When you get an animal, their firstborn goes to the Levim, goes to Bet HaMikdash. So here she is again, this poor widow, 2 brand new goats. They just had babies. Aaron comes and takes it now. This is for Bet HaMikdash. Okay. Then she comes to trim the wool off of their body. Aaron tells her, oh, Reshit HaGez, you have to give to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The first wool also has to go to Bet HaMikdash. Reshit Gesonecha Titen Lo, as it says. And after that, she says, you know what, I can't deal with this. Let me just slaughter the animal and just let me eat the meat. Who tells her over there? And he says, Nili Hazroa Lechaim Ve'akeva. We know that when you slaughter an animal, the half of the animal basically goes to the Levi. After this, she gives up and she says, oh, I can't do this anymore. I give up. You know what? I give up everything. I give up my field. I give up the animals. I give up everything that belongs to me. So there's halacha. Anything that is cherem, anything that has been given up, the Levim can come pick it up and takes up everything. And he paints this picture that this poor, miserable almana, widower, just wanted to live, and she couldn't because Moshe and Aaron were constantly at her, ruining her life. Very convincing. But it was all a lie. Everything was sheker. First of all, there was no such thing. First of all, they're in the desert. There was never a widow. They never had a field. This scenario never happened. He just made up a story. But it's so convincing that it made them feel, it made the Aaron and Moshe as the bad guys. And half of the things that he was explaining was sheker chazav. Because it says, everything that they spoke about was about specific fruits. He was painting it all on everything. Now, as he's telling them this story, you have to understand that he's right now creating a rebellion within Am Yisrael. He just took very prominent men and he gave them a whole night of a shmooze that the next day they were pumped. They were coming in front of Moshe Rabbeinu ready to go. All what? Because of the kin'ah. So Pirkei Avot, a couple of months ago, we were reading it right before Pesach and Shavuot. There's a pasuk over there in Pirkei Avot that says, Hakin'ah, hate'ava, ve'akavod, motzi'im et ha'adam min ha'olam. You should know that three things kill a human being. Kill a human being. Anyone who chases jealousy, desires, and honor, those three things take a person on a path where eventually he kills himself. And here we see the perfect example of kin'ah. Now, kin'ah is not a new thing. The original story of jealousy started in Sefer Bereshit. The first story, the first ounce of kin'ah that came into the world came between two brothers, Kayin and Hevel. Kayin was jealous of Hevel because HaKadosh Baruch Hu accepted the offering of offering of Hevel and not of Kayin. Later on, we see that Kayin kills Hevel. Hevel's blood scream out from the ground, because basically at that point 25% of the world got destroyed. We had Adam, Chava, Kayin, and Hevel. 4 people living on this planet. 25% of the planet died on that day, and the bloods of Hevel was screaming out, "We have no continuation."
That's the origin of Shabbos.
Huh?
The origin of Shabbos.
That's right. The machloket was Shatnez. No, the machloket was which offering is better. Hevel brought the best animals and the best offering. What did Kain bring? Psolet. He ate an apple. No, he ate an orange, and the orange peel he put on the side. He ate some nuts. He ate the klipot, the leftover, and put it on the side.
Flax.
Yeah, the flax and the linen, all the things, the leftover, the psolet. He says, why do I have to give God anything? God doesn't eat. I do it like symbolic, I'm giving him something. I don't need to really give him something. Where Hevel gave him the best. So because Hashem accepted the offering of Hevel, which was the best offering, and not of Kain, he was upset about it, and he murdered him because of it. Jealousy continues throughout generations more and more. After that, we see the jealousy between Yitzchak and Ishmael. After that, we see the jealousy between Yaakov and Esav. And after that, we see the jealousy between Yosef and his brothers. The only time where it started to stop, this jealousy between brothers, we see it between Yosef's children. That got the beracha of Yesimcha Elohim ke Ephraim Menashe. Ephraim and Menashe were two brothers that were able to get along. And later on, the classic example of two brothers that get along is Aaron and Moshe, which are the brothers that we're dealing with now. Why Aaron and Moshe? Moshe, when Hashem comes and God comes to Moshe, he says, you are going to be the new leader of Am Yisrael. Go to Egypt and save them. What does he say? No, thank you. No, I don't want to. And for a week, For a week, Moshe and God are in a back and forth conversation until God got upset with Hashem and told him, you have to go. He says, no, I can't. My older brother is in Mitzrayim. He's been a chief rabbi over there all these years. He is worthy. He's the one who should receive this honor or should receive this responsibility. Who am I? And he started to make all these excuses. Kaved Lashon, I can't speak properly. It's all these different excuses that he gave. At the end, when he went, he tells them, Aharon is coming towards you. He's happy for you. He's going to meet you in the middle of the desert to welcome you. It was a true love of brothers. As a matter of fact, if you go to Sefer Tehillim on the 137th Perek, Kuf Lamed Gimel, if you ever heard of this famous Tehillim that says, Shir HaMa'alot LeDavid, Hine man tov u'man na'im, Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. You know Shevet Achim Gam Yachad comes from this. Who's the Shevet Achim? Aharon and Moshe. Look what he continues to say. כשמן הטוב על הראש יורד על הזקן, זקן אהרון שיורד על פי מידותיו. It says like that oil that goes on top of the Kohen when they anoint him. You know, when you inaugurate the Kohen, you put oil all over him. But they say over there, what does it say? כשמן הטוב על הראש יורד על הזקן, זקן אהרון. Why is the word zakan 2 times? He says because when the oil was going over Aharon's beard, you know who felt like it was going on his also? Moshe. Zero jealousy. He was completely happy for his brother and for the Gedulah that he got as a Kohen Gadol. Zero jealousy. Over here we see that the jealousy between brothers ended between Aharon and Moshe. Here is now all leading to this. You can see the story of Korach, his motive. But again, how could a person that is such a high level even develop kin'ah? Well, you have to understand there's even a deeper story to it. And with this I'll conclude. The real story of Korach and Moshe is not just this parasha. The real story of Korach and Moshe goes back to Kayin and Hevel. Moshe is the reincarnation of Hevel, and Korach is the reincarnation of Kayin. Kayin kills Hevel in Sefer Bereshit. After he kills him, Kayin gets to live. He does teshuvah and he gets to continue. And in Sefer Bereshit it says, V'Kayin Shivatayim Yakum, or Yukam. So they tell us, what do you mean, Shivatayim Yukam? He says after 7 generations he's going to live, he's going to die, but then after that you come. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu told them, what do you think? You're going to... Hi, welcome. Hey. If you don't mind preparing a plate for her. Thank you. What is this Shivatayim you come? So Kadosh Baruch Hu basically says, how could it be possible that you kill 25% of the world and you think you're going to live for 7 generations, I'm going to let you go? He says, yes, 7 generations is just for you to clean up what you did over here, but after that, you come. After you pay your 7 generations over here, there's going to be you come. What's you come? He says, I'm going to bring you back as 3 different Gilgulim. As Yitro, as Korach, and as Mitzri. And here is where the story starts to make sense. After Kain killed Hevel, this is called now the Kilkul. There was something that got ruined in the world. Somebody got murdered. How do we fix it? What's the tikkun of Kain and Hevel? So throughout Sefer Bereshit, Shemot, Vayikra, and Bamidbar, we are privy to different places where the tikkun of Kain and Hevel. And the tikkun of Kain and Hevel was first in Mitzrayim. What happened in Mitzrayim? Moshe Rabbeinu, after he saw that one of the Egyptians was hitting a Jew, what did he do? He couldn't tolerate it, and he killed the Mitzri. The Arizal in Sha'arei Gilgulim lets us know that what happened right there was a tikkun for Kain and Hevel. Why? The Mitzri was Kain, and Moshe Rabbeinu was Hevel. So in the previous Gilgul, Kayin killed Hevel. In this Gilgul, Hevel kills Kayin. 1 for 1. That's the first thing that they evened out. The next time that we see this tikkun comes in Yitro. Yitro is this time he's Kayin, and Moshe again is Hevel. One of the things that Kayin and Hevel fought about was one that he received his offering instead of his. But another Midrash says that they fought because when they were born, back in the days, when people were born into this world, they always had a twin. Kayin and Hevel had twin. And they weren't just twin, they were twin sisters. So Kayin had one, and Hevel had one. But what happened was there was a third twin that came to the picture. In other words, they were born 2 boys and 3 girls. A famous midrash that says, "Shtayim alu lamita ve'yardu shiva." Talks about the Adam and Chava, that they went up, the 2 of them, and when they walked out of the bed, they came down 7 people. Who are they? Kayin, Hevel, and the 3 sisters. Now, Kayin gets 1, Hevel gets 1. Who gets the 3rd one? So they fought about it. They had a fight. Who's going to get the 3rd sister? When Yitro comes into the picture, in Parashat Yitro, I think we spoke about it. What does Yitro do? He comes from the side of the camp and he yells out, "Moshe, Moshe, I'm here." Who is he here with? "I'm here with Tzipporah and your children." Why would Yitro do that? Because Yitro is saying, right now I'm coming to fix what I ruined with Kayin and Hevel. Back then I told you that the 3rd twin is mine. Tzipporah was the 3rd twin. He says, now I'm giving it back to you. I want to make amends on that. The 3rd twin in this Gilgul is Tzipporah. I'm giving it back to you. And remember how I killed off all your offsprings and they were yelling from the ground? He says, now I'm giving you back your children. I want to build you up. Now I want you to grow, to flourish. That was Yitro. Now we come to this week's parasha, Parashat Korach. It's the end. It's the finale. What's the finale? Korach comes and he has a machloket with Moshe Rabbeinu. What's the machloket? Of what we said was the source of it? Kin'ah. Where was the original Kin'ah? The original Kin'ah was with Kayin and Hevel. That's why he got it. He was born with it. The Kin'ah that he had in his brother, that Hashem received his offering, and that he fought for that extra twin, that came again in Korach. And now, when he came to the machloket of the fighting against them, what did he do? He came, he brought an offering, and his offering was what? Refused again. And this time, what was the tikkun? The earth opened up, and it swallowed up who? Korach this time. Who's Korach? It's Kayin. So the same way that originally, now Korach is in the ground. And they say that Korach right now, if you go to that desert, the Gemara Masechet Brachot brings it, that there's a certain place, there's certain nomads that travel around. They'll say that there's a place that you hear, that you put your ear to the ground and you hear people talking. And they say that this is Korach. And what is he saying? Moshe emet v'torato emet. Moshe emet v'torato emet. He says, you hear it.
I heard from one of the that's in the first of the month, because Korach also got the Jewish practitioners were able to determine the month.
That's right. We said it in the first pasuk that they knew Korei Moed. They didn't know how to determine the months. So you see over here that we're reading Parashat Korach, and here's this bad guy that's challenging Moshe, and it's because he skipped over him. But if you dig a little bit more, and if you dig a little bit more, and with the help of the Arizal that opened it up for us, you see that here was the final act of the story of Kayin and Hevel. That right now all was even. With the Mitzri, he killed him. With Yitro, he gave him back his 3rd twin and his children. And with Korach, he got buried in the ground, even Stephen. The tikkun has been done. So it's a beautiful, beautiful story of Korach. And you see all the different things that were used over there in order to undermine Moshe, in order to challenge the leadership of Am Yisrael. But you can see that over here at the end, it always comes back to one central theme. And the central theme is that there will always be challenges to who? To the leaders of Am Yisrael. A true leader will always be challenged, even by his closest relatives, even by family, they get challenged. And they say that Moshe Rabbeinu is the most humble man on the face of the earth. That when he was challenged, what did he tell them? Sleep it off, come tomorrow. Come tomorrow when you're not drunk, maybe we'll talk it out, we'll figure things out. When Datan and Aviram were in their tent, he didn't tell them, come see me, I want to talk to you. Moshe Rabbeinu, the leader of Am Yisrael, went to them to make sulha. He went to them to say, listen guys, you're holding in the wrong place. The leader of Am Yisrael, he was trying to fix it. Bezat Hashem, that we don't get sucked into machloket, that we don't try to find ourselves reaching for high positions, that we should be happy in the place that we are, and that we know that everything is a custom-made moment from Hashem. The only thing that's left for us is to live a life of Torah, mitzvot, and maasim tovim, and everything falls into place. But if you chase the ge'ava, if you chase the kavod, and you chase the kin'ah, you're going to live a life that's going to end up like Korach. שתצליחו, שהשם יברך אתכם, ישמח אתכם. שבת שלום וברך.